Something big is happening with Social Security, and you need to know about it. The government is making moves that could impact your benefits, your retirement, and even how you receive your Social Security payments. And the scariest part? Most people have no idea this is happening. If you rely on Social Security, Medicare, or disability benefits, you cannot afford to miss this information. There are powerful figures in Washington, and even outside of Washington, making decisions that could determine the future of your hard-earned money. And here is the kicker. A lot of this is happening behind closed doors, with little explanation to the public. Today, I am breaking down everything you need to know about Social Security changes, who is pulling the strings, and most importantly, what you can do to protect yourself. Before we dive in, do me a quick favor. If you want to stay informed about Social Security, retirement planning, and financial security, take a second to hit that subscribe button. It helps more people find this information, and it makes sure you stay updated on everything happening with Social Security. Now, let's get into it. Let's start with who actually has access to Social Security funds right now. There is a massive trust fund, $2.7 trillion. That money was paid in by hardworking Americans for decades through FICA taxes. That money is supposed to be there for your retirement. For disability benefits. For survivor benefits. But now, there are new financial oversight decisions that have given people outside of traditional government control access to key payment systems. We are talking about figures who have never run a government agency. People with no experience in managing federal benefits. And yet, they have access to our checkbook. Think about it. Would you hand over your retirement savings to a group of people who do not understand how the system works? Would you let a team of 20 and 30-year-olds, with no background in Social Security, decide who gets paid and when? Because that is exactly what is happening. The goal? Cutting $1 trillion from the federal budget. Originally, they aimed to cut $2 trillion. But once they saw the size of the challenge, they lowered it to $1 trillion. The question is, where will those cuts come from? The Department of Defense? Highly unlikely. Congress is not going to touch military spending. Most of those contracts are tied to specific states and districts, which means cutting defense spending would be political suicide. So where do they turn instead? Social Security and Medicare. This is where things get dangerous. Social Security is the largest part of the federal budget. And if they need to find $1 trillion, they are looking at your retirement, your disability benefits, your Medicare coverage. Now, I want to make something clear. I am all for eliminating fraud, waste, and abuse. If there are people cheating the system, they should be held accountable. But there is a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. If the government starts making reckless cuts without properly investigating, millions of Americans could suddenly find their benefits delayed, reduced, or even cut off entirely. And that is not just a theory. It almost happened recently when a White House directive temporarily froze all federal payments. For 24 hours, people panicked. Seniors who rely on Social Security, disabled individuals who depend on SSDI, families using Medicare and Medicaid. All of them were left wondering, what if my check doesn't come next month? The backlash was immediate. The White House reversed course and said, "Oops, our mistake. Everything is fine." But here is the problem. If it happened once, it can happen again. And next time, what if they do not reverse course? What if it is your check that gets delayed or denied? Now, let's talk about disability benefits, because this is where they might strike first. Right now, about 7.6 million people receive Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI. Millions more receive Supplemental Security Income, or SSI. There is already talk of mass audits, something called Continuing Disability Reviews, or CDRs. This is where Social Security goes back and reviews whether a disabled person still qualifies for benefits. Now, if done correctly, these reviews make sense. We want to make sure benefits are going to the right people. But here is the problem. If they start rushing through millions of reviews just to cut costs, how many mistakes will be made? How many people will wrongly lose their benefits? How many people will have to fight the system just to keep the money they already qualify for? And if Social Security is already short-staffed, how will they handle the flood of appeals when people start getting cut off? The system is not designed to handle millions of audits at once. It could collapse under its own weight, and maybe that is the plan. Because here is something no one is talking about. What happens if the system breaks down entirely? What happens if millions of people cannot get answers from Social Security, cannot reach an agent, and cannot access their benefits? Who steps in? Wall Street. For decades, major financial institutions have been looking for ways to privatize Social Security. They have been waiting for a crisis. A moment where the system is so overwhelmed that the government steps back and lets private companies take over. And if that happens, who do you think benefits? Not you. Not the millions of retirees who depend on these checks every month. Not the disabled individuals who rely on SSDI to survive. It is the same big money players who already control so much of our economy. If Social Security becomes privatized, that money goes straight into the hands of Wall Street investors. And once that happens, there is no getting it back. So what can you do? You need to stay informed. You need to make sure your Social Security records are accurate. You need to contact your representatives and make sure they know that cutting benefits recklessly is not acceptable. If you are close to retirement, start planning now. Do not assume your benefits will always be safe. And if you are on disability, pay attention to any letters from Social Security. If you get a continuing disability review, take it seriously. Because if you do nothing, you might wake up one day and realize your benefits are gone. Now, I want to hear from you. Are you worried about Social Security changes? Have you ever had a delay in getting your benefits? What concerns you the most about retirement? Drop a comment below and let me know. And if you found this video helpful, do me one last favor. Hit the like button, subscribe to Benefit Genius, and turn on notifications so you never miss an important update. Because the more informed you are, the better you can protect your future. Until next time, take care and stay ahead of the game.